Alright, today we're going to review what is going to be on your common assessment tomorrow.
I'm gonna put this on my card.
Step 1. How do you know whether or not you have a sequence or a series? What's the difference between the two?
Commas and plus.
Which is which? You got to know the differences.
Sequence is the commas.
Sequences have commas. Series has plus or minuses. Okay? How do you know if it's infinite or finite?
Infinite has no dots.
Now, infinite means there's nothing after here but dot, dot, dot. So this one is infinite, this one's finite. But I have a question. What if it said dot, 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 and then I had another number here? That's finite. Just because you see dot, dot, dot does not mean that it's automatically infinite. It means that the pattern continues, there's some missing numbers in between, and then it ends at that number, okay? A lot of you guys think, oh, dot, 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 it's infinite. No, not necessarily. All right, the next two, easy. How do you classify it as arithmetic or not? How do you know if it's arithmetic? What do? You look for a common difference. Well, how did you go, this pattern is going up. It's going up by what number? It's adding 3. Is it continually doing that? It sure is. So it is arithmetic, and the common difference is positive 3. Where this one, it's going from 100 to 10, 10 to 1. This one is not adding a constant number. This one, if you go 10 divided by 100, you get 1/10.
Right.
This one is being multiplied by 1/10. So this one is not arithmetic. What is it?
Geometric.
It's a geometric one. But if you had to pick between these two answers, it's not arithmetic. And it doesn't have a common difference. This one has a common ratio of 1/10. Okay, so just a little bit of that. Next, talking about the two formulas for arithmetic. One was recursive, cursive, cursive. When you write cursive, how do you write cursive? If I were to write my name, this is my name. Okay, as I'm writing my first name, I didn't jump from an I to an N. Okay, it was a continuous. In order to do the second letter, I had to know the first letter. It's recursive, right? That recursive formula for arithmetic is saying, you know the first term. To get the next term, this is telling you, this is a recursive formula, you take the previous term, this is the rule, it's telling you to multiply it by 3 and then add 1. So it's starting off with 10, and it wants you to find the next term by multiplying it by 3 and adding 1. So the next term would be 31. Then you're going to take, to get the next term, you multiply that by 3 and add 1, so you're going to get 94. How do you get the next term? You take that, multiply it by 3 and add 1. Versus in explicit formula, you're allowed to jump from the third term to the 100th term. Knowing what that formula looks like, because we've worked on it so much, this, you know very well, is what term?
First term.
The first term. What's this thing called?
The common difference.
The common difference. Your sequence is doing what? It's starting at 4 and it's going down by 2, down by 2. Those are your first 4 terms. So this is an explicit formula. It's explicit because we can find any term we want. We don't have to go recursive, we don't have to know the previous term to get the next term, okay? Number 7, how do you write, if I give you an arithmetic sequence, you better be able to pick out what formula each one is, recursively or explicitly. Recursively was the first one we learned. How do you express a recursive formula? You have to state the first term. A1 is, what is it? It's -15. Then to find any term in the sequence, all you need to know is the previous term, and you're gonna add your common difference. How is this pattern, what's it doing? It's doing what? From -15 to -7, anyone know? It's adding 8, that's your common difference. Your D value is 8. That's what your recursive formula looks like. The recursive formula is only good when you want to know the next term in the sequence. You have to go in order. What do we know about the explicit formula? Well, it looks like this. AN equals, can anyone recite it for me? A1, can you just tell me what A1 is?
-15.
-15,
Plus,
n minus 1 times d.
and what is the D value?
8.
8. Now that formula has another name.
You don't have to put the n on,
Huh?
so you don't have to put the n, like you don't have to.
No, that's the formula to find any term.
No, not a n, but the, inside the parentheses? Or
No,
it's
because
not big?
that's your formula. If you want to find the 100th term, you'd put 100
Oh,
here.
I got you.
This is a generic formula for this particular sequence. Now, this formula, be careful, because it can be written another way. Does anyone have an idea how to transform this formula? A little bit? A little bit? A little bit?
Yeah.
How? What did I just do? So sometimes you'll see the arithmetic formula written in that format. And that told us it was an arithmetic formula. It's written, it looks like linear, like slope formula. Remember that y equals mx plus b, like that. Okay. Yep, next. Number 8, we're still working with arithmetic sequences. This one gives us, this says that it says that the 5th term is 20, and the 9th term is 4. Notice how they're not directly next to each other. So what did we do in class, knowing that the arithmetic sequences is linear? What could we do using that as your x value, that as your y value? Do you recall how we figured out how to find the d value?
This
You
line.
slide.
Yeah, the slide. Let's slide 20 and 4 down,
And 5 minus
and 5 minus 9. You get 16 over -4, which is -4. So our pattern is going down by 4. Excellent. Now, they want us to find the 20th term, right? I need to know the 20th term. Well, look at this formula. AN. Everybody look at this formula for a second. Okay? I want you to tell me the relationship between these two subscripts and what's in parentheses. Do you notice that the two subscripts are, there's an operation between them? What are you doing? You're subtracting them. So these two subscripts, you're finding it's the difference of them multiplied by the common difference. So now, they were not nice to us. They didn't give us the first term. They gave us the 9th term. I'm sorry, the 5th term, I'm blind. This is the 5th term. The 5th term is 20, and they gave us the 9th term. So we're gonna pretend like our 9th term or our 5th term is our first term. Hold that thought. Ms. Nadia? He's not here. No, he's not here. Thanks. Okay, so we're gonna use, and it doesn't matter which one you want to use. You want the 5th term? We're gonna pretend like the 5th term, so we're gonna write A5. We are looking for the $1 million question is what's A20? That's what they're asking you to write on this blank. What's A20? But I don't even know what A1 is, so I'm gonna pretend like A1 is our 5th term. So knowing the relationship between these two is subtracted, can you tell me what number you're gonna put in parentheses here?
19.
What do you?
Now, I heard 19.
11.
Why'd you say 19?
20 minus 1.
It'd be 11.
Okay, if you subtract these two, if you subtract these two to get
15.
that, wouldn't you subtract these two?
15.
So what is 20 minus 5?
15.
And what did we say our common difference was? Negative 4.
It was 11.
Okay, so we're still looking for Mr. A20. What is the the 5th term? What is it? It is 20, not because that's 20, but it's the 5th term is 20. And do the math here. What's 15 times negative 4? This is negative 60, and what's negative 60 plus 20? It is negative 40. What if I would have chosen the 9th term as my first term? What if I would have chosen the 9th term as my first term? Well, look what happens. What if I would have chosen A9? What would I have put here?
20 minus
Which is, do the math. What is the 9th term? 4. It's all plug and chug. You get negative 44 here. And guess what? Mr. A20 is still negative 40. How about that? Good? Okay, next. Do you remember if I asked you to find the arithmetic mean between two numbers? So if I said negative 8 blank 22. Do you remember what you did? Remember what you did? Yeah. You added, yep, you added them up and divided by 2. Okay? Now, watch this one. This one's asking you for 4. So that's your first term. I want 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 22. So we're going to call this term, I don't care if you call it A1, I don't care if you call it A5. Does it matter? Nope. As long as whatever you call this one, this would be then A2, A3, A4, A5, what would this one be called? A6. So if I would have called this A5, 6, 7, 8, 9, this would have been A10. Okay? So now, if this is the first term, if the first term is negative 8, and the 6th term is 22, whoops, sorry. The 6th term is 22. How do you find your rate of change? The slide. Let's slide. Let's do negative 8 minus 22. What is negative 8? Negative 8, it's the difference of the y's over the difference of the x's. Help me out here. Negative 30 over
5, which is 6.
and what do you get?
So you add
6.
6 on.
You're going to add 6 to each number to get to fill in the blanks. We can do that. What's negative 8 plus 6?
Negative 2.
What is this?
-2,
Okay, because this is the answers. Let's add 6 to this.
4,
Add 6 to this.
10,
Add 6 to this.
16.
Add 6 to this. Why do we want to add 6? We want to make sure. Because what if we added 6 and didn't get 22?
that was wrong.
Maybe we made a math error. So we want to double check. So what the numbers are, the 4 arithmetic means are 10, 4, -2, 4, 10, and 16. That's your answer. You got it?
Okay, can I ask how you got 6, 22?
How did I get 622? The
Because it's
sixth
8 to the
term
6.
is 22. So I called this the first term. I called this my first term in my sequence. They were looking
Oh,
for
yeah,
4
okay.
numbers in between. So the second, third, fourth, fifth, that's gonna be
I
my
got it.
6. Okay?
Mm.
All right, now, next one, number 10. I've got this auditorium, and the first row has how many seats?
16.
16, that's row 1. In my directions, it says each row has 3 more seats. So if row 1 has 16, what does row 2 have? 19, and then,
22.
da 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 da. I want to know row 25. How many seats are there? This is row 1. This is row 2. This is row 3. What's happening to my pattern? What's it doing?
Adding 3.
It's going up by 3. So what formula will help us figure out row 25?
Explicit.
Yes. Do I want the recursive one? No, I'll be there forever. So how do I find row 25? The 25th row is equal to 16 plus
3.
n minus 1, n minus, the row you're looking for,
5 minus 1 times 3.
and then times 3. So not gonna waste your time doing the math. Does anyone have the answer? 88 seats. I would be really happy if you labeled your answers. 88 seats. Now, we're gonna jump to question 14, because question 14 relates to this, but it was from a different section. Question 14 says, hey, we need to replace all the seats from row 1 to 25. Tell me how many seats I'm talking about. What are you gonna do, sit there and add 1, 2, 3, you're gonna add 16 seats in row 1, and you're gonna add 19 in row 2, you're gonna sit there and add them? No. We're gonna say, hey, wait, I got a formula. What is the formula? N over 2,
A first plus A left.
now, why did I write, I'm gonna write row 25. There may be more than 25 rows in your auditorium, but I specifically only want to add up from row 1 to 25. How many rows am I adding up? That's your n value. How many rows am I talking about? How many rows? 25. How many seats are in row 1? How many seats did we figure out are in row 25? 88. Do the math. How do you do this?
Your calculator.
Yep. Well, anyone have an answer? Yep, there's 1,300 seats total from row 1 to row 25. So you need both of those formula. Both of them. They both are helpful. One tells you how many seats are in a particular row. The other one helps you add up all of the rows in the set. All right, now check out these two. These two questions are asking you to add up. Add up. See that Greek letter, sigma? That means add up. Add up what? Add up what? And what kind of what kind of formula is this? You should recognize it to be arithmetic. The 6n, 3n, it's not geometric. Geometric has a power. So when you get your formula sheet, you're gonna know which one it is. Which one is it?
Arithmetic.
It's this one, when you add them up. It's the first plus. Now, I'm going to change this around for you. Do that.
The last, right?
Yep. You're adding the first to the seventh. Versus, look at this one. How would you rearrange this formula? N over 2, you're gonna add the what? The third term to the, what number is that?
25.
That's your last. This is the first one you're adding up in your sequence. This is the last one you want to add. So now, 3 ingredients for this formula.
Don't you have to use the arithmetic explicit formula?
Nope, you're done, D'Angelo. All you need to do is plug and chug. These are your 2 formulas.
Oh,
The n value for this one, how do you find the n value? The n value is found,
7 minus 1 plus 1.
yep, so you get 7.
And then the A1 you do that
You-
1 and you plug it into
You
that
plug
formula.
this one in for n, and you plug 7 in for n. That's gonna give you your 7th and your first term,
You get
easy.
Negative 9 and 30.
You get -9 and 3, right? Wait,
30.
1, if you plug 1 in here,
Yeah.
you get 3, right?
So, yeah.
And then if you plug 7 in here, you get,
wait, you plug 1 in for the n,
yep, 1 in for the n,
so you get 1 times 6, which is 6 plus -3.
which is 3.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, okay? Now, when you do the math, you should get 147. Not gonna bore you with plugging the numbers in the calculator. Okay, but B, what's different about B? B is not asking you to add the first term, the official first term. It's saying, I want you to add row 3 up to 25. Not row 1 to 25, row 3. So you're gonna plug 3 in here, not a 1. So what is 3 times 3?
9.
What's 9 plus 4?
13.
So that is your third term. How do you find your 25th term?
And 25.
What's 3 times 25?
75.
75 plus 4, 79, right? Now, here's a little bugger here. How do you find n? Nope, it's not 25. This, be careful.
Plus 1.
This is the one, go ahead.
How did you get 13 plus 79?
How did I get 13? Someone re-explain.
You gotta,
Plug the 3 in and you do 3 times
This
3
bottom number
plus
gets plugged into this
Okay.
formula. 3 times 3 is 9,
plus 4 is
9 plus 4 is 13. 25 times 3 is 75, 75 plus 4 is 79. How do you find the n value?
You subtract 3 and add 1.
You subtract the top and the bottom, so find the difference of them. What's the difference of 25 and 3? 22, and then add 1.
23.
You're not adding 25 terms, because you're not adding the first and the second term.
So then you do,
Does that make sense? You're not adding 1 and 2.
so do you just leave it like 23 over 2 plus 13?
No, you have
Okay,
you have
yeah.
to do the math.
Yeah, yeah, so you do.
You are gonna add these up,
13 plus.
and you get what, 92?
So 92 times 23 over 2 equals shit.
Uh-huh, now 2 goes into 92 evenly, and then when you multiply, you should get 1,058. Yep. Let me make that smaller for you. Okay, jump down to 13. 13's super easy. This is a sequence, right? It's got commas. Is it arithmetic or geometric? Quick. It's arithmetic. You're going down by 3. So we know we're going to use this formula. Do we know any one of these three ingredients? We know them all. How many numbers are we adding together?
7.
7. Lauren, how did you figure that out?
Just count it.
She counted. No one told her. She just counted. Sometimes it'll say n is 7. N is whatever. She's added these up to get 7. What's the first term?
21.
21.
You gotta know the first term you're adding and the last term. So again, 7 over 2 times 24. 2 goes into 24 12 times. 7 times 12 is 84. I just did that in my head. Didn't even need a calculator. Now, the problem with 12 is this. Actually, you're gonna tell me what the problem is. So we're driving along and we're gonna end up having a roadblock. Okay, so we know we have to add these numbers together. Even though it says dot, 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 there's a 6. So it's finite. We are adding a certain number of terms together. Can you tell me what the first or the last term is?
The first term is 42,
First term is 42,
and the last term is 6.
and the last term is 6, okay? Am I adding 1, 2, 3, 4 terms together?
No.
No.
No. We now have our problem. How many terms are we adding? Don't
What
know.
does that say? Is it L-A-S?
Last.
Oh.
A last. It's the last term. A last. First, last. Make these formulas your own. Did you ever get a recipe and then alter it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a recipe, alter it. You don't have to write A1. Write A first, the first term. Just like I did up here. I wrote A3, because that tells me I'm adding the third term. That's the first term. I wrote A25. It's up to you to alter this. I'm letting you do that. Our problem is we don't know what N is. Now, you could do one of two things. The slow way would be to figure out what your common difference is, which is 6 minus 6. You could keep recursively going down by 6, and you would count how many terms you have. You end up with 7. That's one way of doing it. Okay, does everyone understand that? It take forever. Or, does anyone know? D'Angelo keeps talking about this explicit formula. This explicit formula says,
A-N equals A1 plus parentheses N minus.
he's dying to use this formula. We're going to figure out what N value 6 is. So 6 is equal to the first term, and this thing is going down by 6. If you have strong algebra skills, this should be no problem. You could subtract 42, divide by -6, and add 1. You're going to get N is 7. So this is telling you that 6 is the 7th term. So in other words, how many terms am I adding together? 7. So one way or the other, you have to figure out how many terms you're adding together. Yes?
Couldn't you just divide, like, I divided 42 by 6 and got the same answer?
For this particular one, yes, you can. This particular one, you can. But sometimes you can't. Okay, next. Now we're jumping into geometric. How do I know all of a sudden we're in geometric? Just by looking at these two formulas.
The power.
Yes, your powers. Can you tell me the two formulas? Are we done?
Yeah, 1 minute left.
You have 1 minute left. Okay, 15, this is exactly where I think I left off in the other class. The rest of these questions will be on YouTube, so it'll be part 1, look for part 2, okay?